7 years ago, I spent over $300 on a blow dryer that was heavily promoted in the natural hair community. Not only did it completely disappoint me, but the experience was so bad that it ultimately led me to stop using heat on my hair altogether. Today, I'm finally sharing my experience with the Revair blow dryer. Hi, if you're new to my channel, my name is Talani Bloom and I create minimalist natural hair content. Today, I'm going to share my personal experience with the Revair blow dryer. If you're a returning viewer, you've probably already heard me say that I haven't used heat in years, and that statement is still true because this review is about 7 years overdue. Because the Revair blow dryer was the last dryer I owned before I stopped using heat indefinitely. This has been tucked away in my closet for years, and I actually just discovered a few minutes ago that it no longer works. If you're part of the natural hair community, you've probably already seen this dryer, or maybe you even own it, because it is widely promoted by natural hair content creators, and that's exactly how I was introduced to the brand back in 2019. At the time, I was heavily consuming natural hair content, and one of the creators I followed swore by it, so I was influenced to purchase it. But before I review the dryer, I want to first revisit an email exchange I had with the company back in 2019 because it gives some insight into my initial experience with the dryer. I have the emails printed out right here, and I'll also post them on screen so you can follow along. So I just want to go over like when I ordered it, how much I paid for it. But before I do that, I think it's important to note that the Revair dryer is one of the most expensive handheld dryer that is currently on the market. I believe its retail price is $499, which is $500. But I purchased mine back in 2019 and it was $100 less. I purchased it on April the 28th and I received a message saying, prepare to have your mind blown. This is ironic because my mind was blown, but just not in the way they intended. Oh my gosh. So, like I said, the retail price back then was $399, which is $400, but I used a discount code and I ended up paying $339. Okay. So on March the 1st, I received an email saying my package was delivered. But the unbelievable happened. And on the morning of May the 12th, I sent the following email. Good day. Today was the second time I used my Revair dryer and the one mouth popped off. I've attached 2 photos. I've tried to snap it back on, but that doesn't seem to work. It has only been 11 days since delivery, so I would like a replacement one. When I read this, I have to give grace to myself because this was the younger, more timid version of myself. The older, more mature version would have said, I would like a refund because this is terrible craftsmanship. Can you imagine spending over $300 on a blow dryer just to have it malfunction on its second use? That's crazy. So later that day, their support team responded with the following message. I'm so sorry to see that you're experiencing an issue with your Revair device. If you could please provide a little more information for me to provide to our quality team. Was the wand dropped? Were you using the device when you noticed the top portion coming off? Any additional information is helpful. You can read the rest of the message. It will be on the screen. So later that night, I responded and I said, thank you for getting back to me. To answer your question, no, I didn't drop the wand, and yes, I was using it when I noticed it was falling apart. I hope that was helpful. So the next day they said, thank you for the information. We will get your replacement out today. Once you receive your replacement, if you could please swap out and drop it off at the FedEx or Walgreens. I would love our quality/engineering team to look at them ASAP. Okay. Well, just 24 hours after sending that email, there was an urgent change of plans.
I'm so sorry to bug you again. Your new wand and hose are in transit to arrive tomorrow. We included a FedEx return label in your shipment for ground shipping, but our quality team has shared some urgency in getting it back as quickly as possible for them to inspect. Is there a chance for you to use the attached overnight prepaid label and drop it off at either Walgreens or FedEx drop off location today? I understand this is an inconvenience and would be so very grateful.
Hmm, why the rush? Could it possibly be because they were nervous that an information like this getting out there could tarnish their reputation? Revair was launched in 2018. This happened in 2019. This was just 1 year after their launch. If this information got out, it could have potentially been detrimental to their growth. And I think that's exactly why they wanted to get it out of my hand, just in case I decided to make a video or upload it to the internet. But thankfully for them, I wasn't a content creator back in 2019, but I am in 2026. So there's that. So I responded and I said, I'm currently at work and won't be home until 7 p.m. I just checked the FedEx locator and there are a few drop-off spots in my area, so I'll ship the one once I get home. I was way too accommodating back then. I really should have said, I'm busy and I will ship the one whenever I'm available. I've grown a lot since then and I have clearer boundaries now. Thank God. So they got back to me on May the 31st after they received the malfunction warrant. They said, we appreciate you getting your one back to us in such a short time frame. As our quality team is inspecting, they asked if you could please share with us what name and brand hair products you used before revving. Thank you again for your help. This is my final exchange with the company, and I said, I used coconut oil and Nutty Natural leave-in conditioner. So that was it. And their replacement wand right here is still intact, so that means they must have put some extra bonding glue on this one, because to this day it hasn't popped off. Based on the exchange, it's safe to say my first impression was sheer disappointment. I had spent over $300 on what felt like a low quality blow dryer. What I remember the most about using Revair is that it was way too heavy. I had to pause every 10 to 15 minutes just to give my arms a break and switch hands. The process was tiring and honestly exhausting. I don't remember the exact amount of time it took me to dry my entire head, but it was definitely over an hour. Overall, it was an unpleasant experience. I also remember that at one point, black oil started leaking from the bottom of this device. To this day, I still don't know what that was about. Now, Revair isn't the only dryer I've used. Over the years, I've tried multiple different brands, but I can't recall ever using a dryer that left my coils feeling soft or moisturized. My hair always ended up feeling dry, and over time it led to breakage. I simply don't like the effect that heat adds on my coils and how it makes my hair feel. That realization is what ultimately led me to stop using heat on my hair. And just for clarity, over the last 13 years of my natural hair journey, the only form of heat I've experimented with is blow drying. I haven't straightened my hair with a flat iron in over a decade. So when I talk about my experience with heat, I am strictly referring to blow dryers, not flat irons. In my experience, heat strips moisture from my hair strands. I've heard people say that only happens when the heat setting is too high. In my case, that wasn't true. Medium heat was the highest setting I ever used. I even tried using this dryer on low heat, but I still didn't like the results. And realistically, drying my hair on low heat is just not sustainable. It would have taken hours, and considering how heavy this thing is, it just wasn't worth the effort. Growing and maintaining healthy natural hair is a personal journey, and it will look different for everyone. My advice is to simply listen to your strands and pay attention to what your hair likes and dislikes. That's the key to retaining length. My hair did not respond well to heat, but that doesn't mean yours won't. So don't let me or anyone else make those decisions for you. The only thing that should persuade you is the results you see from your own personal experiments. For a long time, I used products that seemed to work well for the creators I followed, but didn't give me quite the same results. I remember thinking maybe I need to use it longer, or maybe I was doing something wrong. But the moment I stopped comparing my hair to influencers and started responding to the actual results that I was seeing, that's when my natural hair journey transformed. That shift is what eventually led me to become a minimalist in my natural hair routine. Even now, when I see creators promoting this product, I get a knot in my stomach because I remember being that impressionable young woman who was desperate to find the right products for her hair. The moral of the story is this: don't be too impressionable. In the early stages of my natural hair journey, I wanted to try all the new products that creators would promote. And to be fair, a little trial and error is part of the process when you're trying to figure out what works for your hair. But it's also important to remember that brands are constantly trying to capture your attention. So be intentional, cautious, and selective when choosing which brand to support.
Sometimes the biggest breakthrough in your natural hair journey isn't finding the right products, it's realizing you don't need most of them.
Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what your experience with heat has been like on your natural hair journey. Bye! I'll see you in the next one.